Much love to everybody. Top 10 best country homes in England. Now, if you've been on my channel and you're one of my subscribers, you know I love the country, and you know I got an appreciation for England. So this is going to be a cool video. With that being said, we're smoking all my dragons, divine righteous, almighty greats, overachieving, never slacking. Today we are flying back over to England, and we're going to dive right into this. Here we go.
There's nothing like a good country home, and in England we're absolutely spoiled for choice. From modest country getaways to gargantuan castles and palaces, there's something in England to suit every taste. But whilst most of us could only dream about calling such magnificent houses home, we're fortunate that nowadays a lot of these places are open to the public. In this video, I'm counting down 10 of what I consider to be the grandest and most magnificent country houses in England. From one of the most iconic houses to ever grace our TV screens, to one of the largest privately owned country houses in England, here is my list of top 10 most magnificent stately homes to visit in England. Kicking things off is the spectacular Herwood House, situated close to Leeds in West Yorkshire. I've visited Herwood a number of times over the past years, and it never fails to impress. Built between 1759 and 1771 by Edwin Lascelles, 1st Baron Herwood, Herwood House has a bit of a dubious past. The Lascelles were wealthy plantation and slave owners, whom, having accrued a magnificent wealth, invested it in the construction of Herwood. Designed by the celebrated architect John Carr, the house is certainly pleasing on the eye, and it sits within one of the most beautiful landscapes in England. The interiors too are utterly magnificent, with Robert Adam working his usual magic. In fact, these are recognised as some of his finest interiors, and the luxurious long gallery is certainly a sight to behold. What makes Herwood so impressive is its beautiful design. The exterior of the house is done in the Palladian style, and unlike most other Georgian period houses in England that might appear quite similar, Herwood has a certain panache about it and is one of my favourite examples of English Palladianism. Next up is the imposing Hardwick Hall. I actually only visited Hardwick for the first time in 2020, and to say that I was blown away would be an understatement. Built as a prodigy house, this means Hardwick was built with the sole intention of showing off, and was designed to showcase its owner's magnificent wealth and influence. The house was built by Bess of Hardwick, whom, having married no fewer than 4 times, amassed a ginormous wealth, second only to that of Queen Elizabeth. Of course, she required a house worthy of her status, and completed in 1597, Hardwick left no one in any doubt about its provenance. Built to the rules of symmetry and said to contain more glass than wall, the National Trust's Hardwick Hall is one of the finest examples of Elizabethan architecture in England. The hall is indeed very striking, and you may recognise it as Malfoy Manor in Harry Potter. Hardwick's tapestry-hung interior...
Oh, that gets me excited. As y'all can see, I got Diagon Alley behind me, so I'm a fan.
...are equally as impressive. Again, clearly designed to impress, the interiors are literally fit for royalty, with the spectacular long gallery serving as the largest surviving Elizabethan long gallery in England. The internal spaces at Hardwick are so vast that they absolutely have to be seen to be believed. Hardwick Hall is perhaps the grandest prodigy house in England, and was home to one of England's greatest women. It truly is a house worthy of recognition. Highclere Castle is likely most recognisable as the home of the Crawley family in the hit TV series Downton Abbey. Although Downton is set in Yorkshire, this architecturally spectacular house is actually situated in Hampshire and sits within a stunning 1,000-acre estate. The Highclere estate has a long history, dating back to Anglo-Saxon times. The house we see today, however, was built in 1679 when it was purchased by Robert Sawyer, Attorney General to Charles II, and also great-grandfather to the current Earl of Carnarvon. Highclere, however, owes its current striking appearance to Sir John Barry, the architect responsible for designing the Houses of Parliament, who in 1842 transformed the house into the spectacular castle we know and love today. The castle is particularly beautiful, and like many other great houses, features a stunning landscape designed by the legendary landscape gardener Lancelot Capability Brown. The grounds feature no fewer than 6 18th century follies and temples, and the 1,000-acre parkland has Grade 1 listed status. Longleat House is a beautiful Elizabethan period home situated near to Warminster in the southwest of England. This stunning prodigy house is another historic home purported to be one of the finest examples of Elizabethan architecture and is the seat of the Marquis of Bath. Built by Sir John Thynne between 1568 and 1580, Longleat was the first of the so-called prodigy houses to be built in England, and allegedly the first to be built with the sole intention of wooing the monarch. It's a spectacularly beautiful country home, and its architect Robert Smithson was one of the most celebrated architects of the time. The house is quite exceptional and is set within 900 acres of beautiful Capability Brown landscaped parkland. Longleat is famous for being the first stately home to open to the public, and also home to the first...
When you live like this, why do you ever even really need to go somewhere?
safari park outside of Africa. Amazingly, Longleat has remained in the hands of the same family since its inception nearly 450 years ago, and today is home to the 7th Marquis of Bath. Lyme is an absolutely glorious country house and park nestled on the edge of the Peak District in Cheshire. Lyme was home to the ancient Lee family for over 550 years, with the current house being constructed in the mid-16th century by Piers Ley. Although piecemeal modifications were made in the 17th century, it was in 1725 that the house underwent a massive transformation that resulted in the splendid neoclassical Palladian masterpiece we see today. Lyme is a wonderfully beautiful house, combining its Tudor core with Georgian Palladian architecture and stunning 19th century interiors. As if this wasn't enough, the house is further complemented by its surrounding moorlands and formal gardens. Lyme is a truly magnificent house, and you might recognise it from the BBC's 1995 TV adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Lyme stands in as Mr Darcy's Pemberley estate, testament to its incredible reputation. Now in the care of the National Trust, Lyme is one of the most impressive houses in the Trust's portfolio and a very popular tourist destination. Like Hardwick Hall, Bly House is a stunning example of an Elizabethan prodigy house. Built for and largely designed by William Cecil, Lord High Treasurer to Queen Elizabeth, this incredible structure is one of the finest 16th century houses in existence today. Situated in Stamford in Lincolnshire, construction of this spectacular house was begun in 1555 with the erection of the East Range. It took around 32 years for building work to be fully concluded, however, with the north front not being completed until 1587. Like so many other great prodigy houses, Bly was designed to impress, and with Cecil being one of the most powerful courtiers in the land, absolutely no expense was spared on this spectacular home. Furthermore, with hopes of one day housing the monarch herself, Bly was certainly grand enough and large enough to entice the Queen and her enormous entourage. The scale of Bly is also quite amazing. Featuring 35 major rooms and 80 smaller ones, this enormous palace of a house is like nothing else of this period. Architecturally spectacular and featuring decorative chimneys that dominate the skyline, Bly is one of the most magnificent country houses in England. No top list would be complete without the inclusion of the mighty Blenheim Palace. Situated in Oxfordshire, Blenheim is the historic seat of the Dukes of Marlborough, with the estate being gifted to the first Duke, John Churchill, following his military success in the War of the Spanish Succession. The palace has remained in the hands of the Dukes of Marlborough ever since, and was significantly the childhood home of British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. Built between 1705 and 1722, Blenheim is the only non-royal house in the UK to bear the title palace, and also enjoys UNESCO World Heritage Site status. Like Castle Howard, Blenheim was designed by architects John Vanbrugh and Nicholas Hawksmoor, and serves as one of the finest examples of Baroque architecture anywhere in England. In addition to the colossal house, Blenheim also features 2,000 acres of parkland designed by Capability Brown and 90 acres of spectacular formal gardens. It's no wonder Blenheim is so popular with visitors, and it serves as one of the most popular tourist destinations in Britain. Hi guys, so we're just about to explore my top 3 most magnificent stately homes in England, but before we do, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you enjoy what I'm doing and you want to see more videos like this, then please do hit that subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. I don't get paid to do this, so your support is incredibly valuable to me, and it means that
If I didn't say it already, original link in the description. Let's show them some love.
I can keep making these videos. Anyway, on with the top 3. Nestled in the Derbyshire Dales sits one of England's grandest and most famous homes. Likely recognised as the home of Mr Darcy in 2005's film adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, Chatsworth House is the seat of the Duke of Devonshire and has been the home of the Cavendish family since Bess of Hardwick and her husband William Cavendish purchased the estate in 1549. Cavendish was Bess's second husband and had amassed a small fortune as a commissioner for the dissolution of the monasteries. Having purchased a number of properties together in Bess's home county of Derbyshire, it was Chatsworth where they chose to construct a magnificent Elizabethan home. Little of this remains today, however, with the house being completely remodelled in 1707 by the first Duke and further expanded and modernised by the 6th Duke in the late 18th century. The result is one of the most opulent and easily recognisable homes in the world, and one of the UK's most visited tourist attractions. One of the reasons why visitors keep coming back is the magnificent interiors. The painted hall, for example, is one of the most exquisite indoor spaces, and the magnificent library is recognised as containing the largest private collection of books anywhere in the UK. The grounds too are absolutely exquisite, with key features being a monumental Victorian rock garden and a magnificent 300-year-old cascade. Chatsworth is truly breathtaking and is well worth its status as one of the UK's most spectacular stately homes. Castle Howard is one of the largest, grandest and most iconic stately homes in the UK. Situated in the Howardian Hills in Rydale in North Yorkshire, this colossal stately home has been in the hands of the Howard family for over 300 years. Built for Charles Howard, the 3rd Earl of Carlisle, the house was dramatist John Vanbragh's first ever commission and largely constructed in the Baroque style. With construction beginning in 1699, the bulk of the house was completed in just 10 years. That said, it took around 100 years for the house to be considered finished. Castle Howard sits at the heart of a 9,000-acre estate, which in addition to the house comprises parkland, farmland, temples, monuments and mock castle walls. The estate is vast indeed and truly extraordinary. Castle Howard is particularly iconic as it serves as the home of Sebastian Flyte in the film and TV adaptations of Brideshead. More recently, however, the house featured as the country home of the Duke of Hastings in the popular Netflix production Bridgerton. What makes Castle Howard so spectacular is its extravagant architecture and opulent interiors. The Great Hall, for example, serves as one of the most elaborate and magnificent indoor spaces anywhere in the UK and is truly a sight to behold. Castle Howard is my personal favourite country home in the UK and is bested only in terms of size by my number 1 entry. Coming in at number 1 is the gargantuan Wentworth Woodhouse. Situated in Rotherham in South Yorkshire and currently undergoing a multi-million-pound restoration, Wentworth Woodhouse is one of the largest houses in Europe and features the longest facade of any house in England. Largely built by Thomas Watson Wentworth, the first Marquis of Rockingham, this incredible structure replaced an earlier Jacobean house that had served as the historic seat of the Earl of Stafford. Thomas had inherited the Wentworth estate and fortune from his father, who had in turn inherited it from his maternal uncle, William Wentworth, the 2nd Earl of Stafford. This was something that had been bitterly resented by the Earl's cousin Thomas Wentworth, who had fully expected to inherit the family fortune and titles when the Earl died childless in 1695. Thomas Watson Wentworth then found himself in possession of the mighty Wentworth Woodhouse, and not to be outdone by his jealous Wentworth cousins, who were busy at work creating the nearby Wentworth Castle, set about creating the most magnificent house England had ever seen. Built in 2 campaigns, the Baroque-styled West Range took place between 1725 and 1735. The paint had yet to dry on this, however, before Thomas turned his eye to the erection of an even larger and grander East Range. Built in the more fashionable Palladian style, this new range was completed in around 1750 and was considered the first great Palladian house in England. The interiors of Wentworth Woodhouse are considered some of the finest Georgian period interiors anywhere in the country, and it is reckoned that the house has around 365 rooms. The standout piece has to be the breathtaking marble saloon, featured not so long back in the Downton Abbey movie. Wentworth is truly colossal in every sense, and when its restoration is complete, will likely serve as one of the finest country houses open to the public anywhere in the world. The prospect of bringing this fantastic home back to life is truly exciting, and I can't wait to see the results. There you go guys, that was my top 10 list of most magnificent stately homes in England. You may agree or you may disagree with my list, that's absolutely fine. Please leave me a comment, let me know what you think is the most magnificent stately home in England. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please support me by giving it a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe. Your support is incredibly valuable to me and it means that I can keep making these videos. Thanks so much for watching and stay safe.
Okay, so magnificent they were. For me, obviously, I am biased. I am going to go with where Harry Potter was, you know, where the scene from Harry Potter was. My bias, I mean, they're all hard to judge. So I'm going to go with whatever steals my heart. And that's it for me right there. I actually have a very different perspective today. As far as, you know what's crazy, before I even get to that, being an American, when we hear country homes, let me just let y'all know, we do not think castle at all. We're thinking like a more like a ranch style house. I wasn't even expecting, I'm like country homes, I'm thinking like a ranch style home, with some horses and, you know, things like that. I wasn't expecting gigantic, massive castles. So immediately I was taken back, like, oh, okay. These are what's considered homes in England. All right. Obviously, yeah, there's somebody's home, right? But my perspective today was a little different watching for some reason. You know, I love the medieval times. You guys always hear me talk about dragons and just, you know, different things from mythology from back in medieval times and even predating those times. But for some reason, when I'm looking this time, I started thinking about the opposite end of the stick. Like from the outside looking in, we always look at it like big, beautiful castle. And they be big, beautiful castles. And a lot of us tend to think like, imagine just living in that castle and having everything. But for some reason, I started to think, imagine how many people felt imprisoned in those castles. Even as far as maybe kings or queens or royalty. Imagine how many people felt like they may have wanted to live more of a more normie type of lifestyle, you know, or people that were actually physically imprisoned or enslaved. That was literally their hell. Even when you look at shows like Game of Thrones, you see so many people, their heaven, right? When it was raided, their heaven being their castle, when it was raided, those people ended up turning that heaven into their hell by imprisoning them in their own castle. So now it became their prison. Even when you look at something as magnificent as Hogwarts, right? To keep it on a theme of Harry Potter. When you look at something as magnificent as Hogwarts, you had ghosts that were trapped in Hogwarts. It was literally their prison. So, looking at it from that perspective, it's like, imagine how many spirits on another end could still be like in some type of limbo, just stuck in those castles. You know, you see these TV shows and different things where, like, I forgot what it was called, but it was this TV show I watched where this girl, she died and she couldn't leave her high school. It just makes me think how many people were enslaved or how many people were imprisoned in different castles or these massive homes, right? That may have died there and it's like their spirit can't leave. That's the perspective that caught me for some reason today. And usually that's not usually how I'm thinking. I'm like, oh man, that's. But for some reason, I just kept thinking like this from the outside looking into us normies. This is like jaw dropping. But just imagine, man. Just imagine, when you really look at history. It's like Game of Thrones, Ramsay Bolton with the whole Theon thing. If y'all remember when Theon was imprisoned and turned into a slave and renamed into Reek. I mean, this is real stuff that was happening throughout history. Woo! So, I guess I always like to kind of balance things out and just give two different perspectives. Because I'm always speaking about how beautiful these different castles are and beautiful things are. But there is that opposite end to that pole, to that totem pole, where it's like heaven and hell, bad and good. It's on two opposite ends of the same stick here. So I guess I'm just sliding down the opposite end of the stick and looking at that perspective for a second. Like, woo, even people that we consider royalty, we may not know how everybody felt. I know what Princess Diana, I'm a fan of her within the last 3 years, a fan, but she spoke a lot as if she felt imprisoned by even the whole royal status. So, man, no, she almost had this energy to her as if she was trying to escape something. So sometimes we could be looking into somebody else's prison walls. That's crazy. Right? But with that being said, beautiful, beautiful. Definitely gonna keep tapping in. Like I said, y'all already know Harry Potter gonna steal my heart every time because I am a fan. And actually, I need to go. Head to Diagon Alley right now. If I'm pointing up, okay, let me point that way. I need to go over there, meet up with Hagrid. We got some business to do. So, with that being said, I don't want to be late for my appointment with Hagrid. I will see you guys soon. Much love, y'all. Enjoy your weekend.